Good evening, everybody. Good evening. How are you? Welcome to this beautiful Saturday as we talk about dispute resolution. We are going to be discussing what is a dispute, what is a conflict, what is a disagreement, what are all these things, and we will be talking about them right here. So, share the link with all of your friends. I know you're wondering, so this topic, where is it coming from? We have noticed in our society today that there's so much family wrangles that's going around, so much murder. We have a pandemic of murder. So what's going on with our families, with our children, with our spouses? Why can't we seem to just get along? And guess what? We'll even be touching on matters, inheritance, land discords, all those things. We'll be talking about them right here. Now, without a further ado, allow me to invite my friend, my host, Mr. Likuyani. Ellie, good evening, my brother.
Hi, Nyokabi, GK, Kamau. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. You see, I'm learning how to become. I'm learning how to become. And
Calmness is not, sorry about that. Calmness is never your portion because I know you are always fast and furious when it comes to
yes,
discussing matters that are very pertinent when it comes to family settings. So
oh yes,
that's
oh
why
yes.
I am more than excited to be part and parcel of this discussion tonight as we focus on family issues. And why not discuss disputes and conflicts in the family? So I know you've already said this. For everyone that is watching, let me take this opportunity to equally welcome you to the show. My name is Likuyani Eli, and you're right in
Likuyani Ellie,
time.
or
Likuyani Eli.
Lukuyani Ellie, or Lukuyani Ellie. However you
Lukuyani. Yeah, Luku, baby.
depends on who was your English teacher or which school did you go to? Groups of school or polling stations? It depends. Likuyani or Lukuyani. Continue.
Vile unaifeel. So, in case you want to discuss this kind of discussion tonight with us, you are invited to do so in the comment section, and I will be asking this person that is behind the scenes to actually take over the show so that I can take my time and address the matter. So let's have the discussion. Family dispute resolution. Nyokabi, even before we
Yes.
resolve these disputes, one is wondering, why would you have a dispute in the first place? So let's just define, what is a dispute in the first place? Why would you say took on a conflict?
What is a dispute? A dispute it's a disagreement
Mhm,
between two people or three
mhm.
people or four people. You can even have a dispute with yourself, by the way, with your
Yeah.
subconscious. It's so strange,
Is that
but you
bad?
can have a dispute. Yes, your conscience can caution you about something, but your body is telling you to
Mhm.
go ahead and do it. That's a dispute. It's a disagreement. It's mostly a disagreement of something that we don't agree upon. When you hear the word disagreement, it means there's something that we don't agree upon. There's something that you want that I don't want, and we are in disagreement. So that is what a dispute is in a short term. So Ellie, why are you muting your microphone?
I thought you were the best of the best. You can manipulate these things. You see why I should be earning more money.
Ellie, we
So,
are working on it. We are working. Unaona vile tumejikakamua. We are working.
okay, so fine. Now that you've said that, and for everybody that is watching, at least we've established what is a dispute. It's
Yes.
purely on a short-term basis. Whereas when we talk about conflict, it's actually a long-term disagreement. Unajua, my sister and I have a conflict. That means it's been ongoing for some time. Ime, imefika ile cloud 9 ya kugombana. Mkionana ni kama
Amjaongeleshana
amjongeleshana.
amjaongeleshana miaka 10 ama miaka 2.
So
Haujambanduka hata huwezi msalimia ukimwona. You point
so
her like this.
yes, now that
That's a
now
conflict.
throws in some other aspect into it. Huh? When you're talking
Mm.
about husband, wife, and child, and mother,
Mhm.
would you be referring to dispute or would you call it conflict? Unapata ujongeleshana na madhe ama umekosana na bwanako, umempiga block. Mimi nimepigwa mablock mingi lakini sio leo. Unaekwa block D juu ulienda Nyahururu. Alafu ukasema, babes, I'll send you some cash so that you can take care of the house. And Corona happened in between, and you are unable to fulfill your obligations as a husband or as the man of the house. Then you enter into a dispute or a conflict because Madam is not happy with you. So, would you say when husband father or mother in a family argue out and they are having issues, would you equate them to dispute? Or then how do we
Well,
graduate in between?
it can fall to either, depending on the intensity of the situation. It starts as a dispute, a simple disagreement, and maybe an apology takes too long to take effect. Ownership or taking responsibility for the actions or what led to the particular dispute. A blame game, then it becomes a conflict. But initially, it just starts as a dispute. It starts as a disagreement on something. I wanted you to do this way, you didn't do it that way. And then we end up saying, oh, I didn't do it that way because you did that. Like now, for example, you were to give a practical dispute would be in an easy way to understand a disagreement would be, let's go at 9. One person wants to leave the house at 9, but the other person wants to leave at 10. So you end up disagreeing on the particular time that you're in. But now, the strength of the argument or the intensity of the argument, there are people who easily succumb and say, okay, fine, let's go at 9. And somebody else will say, okay, fine, let's go at 10. And they agree, and immediately the dispute is resolved because it's short term. But there's somebody who puts their foot on the ground and says, no, we are leaving at 9, and the other person says, no, we are leaving at 10. So you see, these people are not able to come to a resolution. They're not able to come to a conclusion. Eventually they will leave at 11 or at midday, but because none of them got what they wanted, they will leave feeling some type of way. So this situation is swept under the carpet, and it's not discussed. No apologies are passed along, and therefore, depending on the level of maturity of these two people, then it can either resolve to a conflict, or it can just remain as a dispute. By the time you come back home in the evening, you've resolved it. One person has explained, oh, I wanted us to leave at 9 because I wanted to go to the farm and maybe do 1, 2, 3 things. And I wanted to leave at 10 because I needed an extra hour to prepare the children. So the conversation happens and the dispute is indeed resolved. And this cuts across to from couples to sibling rivalry to parent to child to spiritual authorities, to teachers and colleagues, to all levels of relationships. You experience this kind of disagreements at those levels. Either a dispute that results or grows into a conflict because it is not resolved at the time that it should be resolved. Ellie, you seem to just be nodding. What are you nodding
I'm
about?
nodding because I'm trying to follow through your you are really rich in knowledge tonight. I don't know who you met in the morning, but that person endelea kukutana na yeye.
In fact, Ellie, we have a perfect example today. You and I, we had a dispute today.
Voila. Let's put it
And
into
it's almost
perspective, actually,
and
because it's
it's
okay to talk about every other person, but let's bring it
yes.
home.
Yes, and it's okay to talk about it almost turning into a conflict because there was a communication breakdown. One person is saying this thing and the other person is saying this thing, but we're not communicating because one person is feeling, you're not answering my question. The other one is feeling, I have answered your question. Stop pushing because I have answered your question. So you see, a dispute that could have resulted into a conflict, but because it was discussed and placed on the table. Na najua watu hapo kwa comments wanakulwa na mshene. Mlikuwa mna dispute nini? What?
Maacheni na maneno yetu tafadhali, achaneni na maneno yetu. But
Leave our business.
but Nyokabi, it's
Yes.
interesting that you say that communication factor. And let's start from there, because these are some of the triggers that will come into play once communication has been broken in a way that it has probably disoriented you as the recipient of the information or the person that sent out this information. So can we start from there? Like,
Yes.
what are some of the issues that could actually make us have a dispute in the first place? Let's start with communication and how to counter that.
So basically, I think on this show, Ellie, we have really talked about communication, and we have really tried to open it up and to break it down in such a way that people understand, because communication is a very key thing in every relationship. In every relationship, including the relationship that you have with yourself. And that is why I said you can have a dispute within yourself. Your body can want to do one thing, but your subconscious is telling you not to do it. It's a disagreement, there's a dispute somewhere. So when it comes to the issue of communication is about hearing what the other person is saying the way they are saying it. That is what communication is. The way they are saying it, the way they mean it, not the way you're interpreting it, not the way
Yep.
you're understanding it, not the way you're perceiving it, not the way you're seeing it, but the way the other person is saying it. For example, Eli, I'll give an example of our dispute today.
Yeah.
You're saying, Eli, Nyokabi confirm that you will do 1, 2, 3 things. Nyokabi has said not available. So that is neither a confirmation, neither is it a conclusion in the other person's eyes. So, but to Nyokabi, I have communicated. When I have said not available, then everything else you have asked, then I am not able to do it at that particular moment. But the other person needs more detail. So they need to hear it the way I am saying it and not the way they are hearing it themselves. Is it making sense, Ellie? So
A lot of
communication
sense because I was a victim of that communication barrier.
So communication is listening. First of all, communication is listening. It's not more of talking. People think that the more you talk, the more you're communicating, which is not the case. Communication is more of listening to the other person. Then you hear what they have said, and then the next stage is hearing it the way they have said it. For example, somebody can say, Nyokabi, I don't want to be in a romantic relationship with you. But leo ni Saturday edition, wacha tubadilishe hiyo example. We can say
Nyokabi, this relationship between us as husband and wife is becoming constrained.
yes, or Nyokabi, I need you to participate in this particular area in the family, or I want you to pay more attention to the children, or I want you to pay more attention to the household and the household state. And there you're thinking this person is trying to attack me. Ananiambia, I am not in charge of my own house. I am not doing things the way they're supposed. Yani, mpaka he's challenging me as a mother. He's questioning my capacity. You see, I have had my own things. What this person was trying to say is something totally different. Maybe there's a particular area that they are interested in that they require for me to pay more attention to. But because sasa mimi nimesikia vile nataka kusikia, it has become an attack on my motherhood. It even says, oh, now I don't even clean the house the way you want it to be clean. Things get taken out of context. And that's what we are saying. Communication is about listening and hearing what the other person is saying. So if you don't hear what the other person is saying, the way they are saying it, you will definitely end up in a dispute. You will end up in a disagreement. For example, Eli, you have called me. Nyokabi, kindly confirm what we are discussing. Eli, Nyokabi, I confirmed. No, you did not confirm.
Can we reenact this scene? Can we reenact
Yes,
this?
yes.
This is me texting. Hi, Nyokabi.
But I have taken my phone to
Okay. So,
to
so
make it serious.
actually, we want to put into perspective what could
Yes.
easily result into a dispute.
Mhm.
We're not trying to waste your time, so kindly follow through
Yes.
for us to see if this is some of the things that will happen in your situation. So, I am here, and I will love to communicate a specific information to Nyokabi.
Yes. Yes.
The most easiest one, thank you to less time that we presume we have, we will
Mhm.
result into texting. So I will go, hello Nyokabi, and Nyokabi will text me
Hello.
back.
Hello, Eli.
How's your day going?
It's good.
Okay, tonight we
You
have a
know,
show from 9:30
me,
p.m.
I'm a short word. I have short word syndrome.
Exactly,
You are the one.
and
You are
that's
the
how
one
we
who's a
want to do
poet.
it.
Yes.
Exactly, I'm
So,
the poet here.
mhm.
So I go ahead and say, Nyokabi, we have a show tonight. What is your agenda for the night?
uh, what's the okay? Do your thing. Let me know, because normally that's what I would say. So do your thing. Let me know. Then I'll leave it at that, and then I'll disappear for like 2 hours.
Okay. Hello, Nyokabi. So can you confirm you'll be on the show tonight? Hello, Nyokabi. In case you got this, here is the poster for the show tonight. Kindly confirm your availability.
Okay, Ellie.
Okay. What? Are you available or what exactly did you mean?
That is a perfect example of how Ellie and I communicate. We don't communicate. Number one, Nyokabi is a short word syndrome. I'll either say okay, sawa. For me, that I've confirmed. For me, I have confirmed. But for Ellie, there needs to be there need to be meat on the message.
Because I am already lacking meat. So if your messaging lacks meat, it defeats the logic into why we are communicating in the first place.
But you see, Ellie, this is now what I'm trying to say about hearing and actually hearing what the other person is saying. Because if I say okay, it means that whatever you have said, I agree with you and I'm on board. But because of the framing or the words of the framing and the expectation that you have, the premeditated idea in your mind of how I should respond, that would actually sound like a confirmation to you, then you find that there is a miscommunication. So because now you will insist, Nyokabi, kindly confirm. And I'll be like, Ellie, for God's sake, how do you want me to confirm? Tell me you'll be available, you'll be on the show. And I'm like, okay, Ellie, I'll be available and I'll be on the show. But you see now, there's a level of maturity between the two of us. One of us will come down and accept to take responsibility. But in most cases, and that's why it's a dispute, it's a disagreement. When it's growing into a conflict, one of us will refuse to take responsibility, and one of us will refuse to come down. So both of us will be on the high, both of us will be right, both of us will assume I have communicated, you have not communicated, but I have communicated. You hold your ground and I hold my ground. And that is what communication is about. I hope you have covered the part about communication.
That's excellent, Nyokabi, because then we have established it's important to have the right communication and delivered in a way that the recipient and the transmitter are actually on the same level of understanding of what was being sent out. So
And
that is the
because
first
Ellie,
way.
and because wait, because Ellie, you have mentioned that both of you need to be on the same wavelength. Now, to help you achieve that, because now somebody will ask, okay, how do we get on the same wavelength? To help you achieve that, or to help you get on the same wavelength and make sure you're communicating, it is to use a tool that is called follow-up questions. What you do is that you say, like now, for example, Ellie, to understand that, okay, what it meant, what he should have said is, Nyokabi, are you saying that you're available for the show? Or are you saying that you will not be available for the show? Then it will require for me to answer in more content. It will be more engaging. You can use a follow-up question by us confirming what you're trying to achieve, either repeating what the person has said. For example, I can repeat and say, Kamau, you're angry because the house is not clean, or you're angry because there's an area I have neglected. What exactly are you saying when you say you need me to pay more attention to the household chores? So that now there's that clarity and both of you come to the same wavelength and the confusion is removed. Because when you repeat the question to the other person, you give them an opportunity to paraphrase it for you in a better way by paraphrasing it yourself. You give them an opportunity to give you more content that will help you understand what they're saying even more. Eli, watu kwa comment section wamejaa
Interesting.
baba.
Let's go to the comment section and Vicky, if you can get that for us so that we get moving. Let's start all the way up. Vicky went off with us, so let's Nyokabi, kindly get us to the comment section, please.
Okay, we'll start from down here or start from up, Eli?
All the way up, down. Today we're gonna go different. All the way up, down.
All the way up, we are going to start with Nora Ambata, who is saying she's tuned. We have Morgan, who is also saying that she's tuned. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you very much. Magen, we have Sarah, who is saying, good evening, everyone. Good evening, girlfriend. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. We have somebody here who has been invited to come and join the show. Please send them the link and let them come and join the show. We have another invitation again going out to some of our very royal members of this show. Wanainvitiana tu highlight these ones that they are just inviting. Yani Roda haujafika. Roda, uko wapi? We have more people that are following keenly. We have Lenny who is following keenly. And there's more and more invitation going out to people, inviting them to come and join the conversation. We have Nyeri represented over here by what? Hebu nisomee hiyo jina. Likuyani.
Manoti.
Manoti as in ama Manoti as in 00. Ebu manoti clarify ni manoti gani. So Nyeri represented, thank you so much all the way from Nyeri. Share the link to patane huku. Watu wako wanasema they are here. Eric is saying nipo, ipo ama yupo. Tuko na Jane anasema lovely, welcome Jane, nice to have you. We have who else is here? Ambata, leo si umekuja na mioto. Aki nakwanga na mioto hivyo all the time. Akisuna nijua tu Nora. Norin, you know me, I have a problem. We have people logging in. We have, who is this? Doreen, welcome. Thank you so much. She's waving. Can you wave back? Likuyani. When somebody waves, you wave. It is so African when somebody... Unajua vile watu anakuanga ameenda kuwevia wazungu. When somebody...
Let's get to some more comment here, Nyokabi. We have, let's see. We have Alex William who says, let me just take now the response to the comments, rather to the topic at hand. Hi, Tina. Family feuds are very common of late. If there can't be dialogue between the immediate conflicting parties, then a senior member of the family who is not biased should be involved to mediate. Otherwise, conflicts left unresolved come back later to haunt us. That's a very important point. And thank you so much, Alex William, for joining and equally sharing your perspective. We have Nancy Magan, who goes ahead and says, the sooner the parties realize they are in dispute, the earlier they can begin to resolve the problems. And this is important because most of the time, as you said, we sweep them under the carpet and assume or presume everything is going to be dealt with over time. Gori Sigero says, Likuyani and Nyokabi mnaweza. Hosea Kibet tuning in from Utawala. Thank you so much. Good conversation I'm watching. That is by Justin Ndegwa. So let's get back to this Nyokabi and try and understand why family has to be given priority when you're talking about disputes and conflicts. And for those who are just joining, we have already defined what conflict and dispute is. And if you didn't, then you can always rewatch and see what we are discussing. So, Nyokabi.
Yes.
Here I am. We have had a disagreement. And we have, first of all, established it was the communication. Fine. If the communication has been resolved, where is the next step when we have to do the resolution of this conflict or dispute? Do you think these unnecessary sorries are a way out, or do we need to be intentional with our apologies? Let's go there.
I get very concerned when somebody says it's an unnecessary sorry, because if you say an unnecessary sorry, it means you don't realize what you have done. When it comes to conflict resolution, or when it comes to resolving a conflict, there are stages that have to be involved in that process of resolving the conflict. And some of these stages, I'm going to try and mention them off my head, but I'm also going to try and get a few notes on it so that we can dive into it deeper. The first thing that you have to do is to both of you come on the same table. That's the first step onto conflict resolution. You have to be on the same table. You can't say ati mimi nilimsamehea na niko sawa, so your issue iliisha. You can't resolve a conflict on your own. The first thing that goes into conflict resolution is both of you coming together and sitting on a round table to discuss the matter. Number two, you have to be open to the other person's understanding or interpretation or perspective of that particular situation. Now, I want to explain what that means. If you have to, your mind, you have psychologically have to be prepared to listen to the other person and what they're saying, because conflict resolution cannot happen unless each person takes responsibility for the part that they played to cause that dispute. And if you don't see the part that you played, then the apology becomes null and void, and it doesn't really hold water with the person you're apologizing to. So what it means to be open when you go to resolve the conflict is to be willing to hear the other person's understanding of what happened. Now, I'll give you an example. If I was going on Thika Highway and I saw traffic, the traffic was moving motionless, slowly, but it was moving. And then Eli was in the same Thika Superhighway, and he says the traffic is heavy and it's not moving. Right? We are on the same traffic. I am saying the traffic is there, yes, but it is moving slowly. So we are getting a headway. It's not the same as the traffic being on a standstill. Now, Eli is on the same traffic and he's saying, no, 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 no. The traffic isn't moving, because to him, traffic, there's slowness. To me, traffic is congestion. So those are two different, the perspective. So you're here trying to resolve a conflict. You are on the same page about the conflict. You're on the same highway, stuck in the same traffic, but one of you is seeing progress. There's just congestion, but the traffic is moving. But the other person is not seeing a way out. They are feeling, no, the traffic is on a standstill. We're not getting anywhere. Why? Because it's been an hour and they can still see what was in front of them. So they are not really seeing the progress ahead of them. So when it comes to conflict resolution, you must be open to see things from the other person's perspective. You must understand that this congestion is as a result of traffic. Regardless whether the traffic is moving or not, there's traffic. So whatever this person is saying is valid. And that brings us to the next stage of conflict resolution. You must validate the other person's concern. How do you validate? You acknowledge by saying, yes, there's traffic. So the acknowledgement is, yes, there was a mistake. Yes, there was a miscommunication. Yes, something happened that should not have happened. Yes, things were taken out of context. You acknowledge and then you validate. If you insist that no, the traffic is moving, and the other person insists, no, the traffic isn't moving, then you will not be able to reach a resolution. So you must be able to see things from this person's eye and to this person's eye. And then again, may I mention, with a lot of caution, conflict resolution is not one-sided. And that's why I keep giving two sides of the story. Both of you, it takes two to tangle. Both of you played a role that led to that conflict. So both of you must take responsibility. So you can't stay there, you're innocent, you didn't do anything. If the other person had not said what they said, you would not have gotten upset. They were reacting to something that you did. So you must validate and accept that concern. They were reacting. Nobody is mad at amekuja hapa amekupata ati amekupiga coffee. The best example whenever we are talking about conflict resolution with couples is that I tell them, can you imagine a scenario where Ellie, you come home in the evening and then you find your wife in the kitchen and she's cooking and she's cleaning, and because you've had a bad day, you just come there and you slap her. Because most people, that's how they look at conflict. One-sided. Me, I did not play any part into that. So the person who has been slapped is thinking, oh my God, I was just minding my own business. Then he just came and slapped me. That is not how conflict happens. When this person walked through the door, you reacted some type of way. You did not, your body language said something. Your posture said something that provoked them to do what they did. So that thing, that minute thing you did is what we are accepting and acknowledging and validating. Now, once you have reached that step, once you have accepted, you have acknowledged, and you have validated what the other person is saying, now you begin to see where you need to be remorseful. You don't apologize unless you're remorseful. And that is what takes an apology out of context. If you go to the States and somebody is up for parole, you have been sentenced, you have been in prison for some time, and you feel that you're eligible for parole after a particular period of time. The first thing that the panel asks you is, are you remorseful for what you did, for the crime that you committed? Are you remorseful? And some of the things they look at is, how do you refer to the victim's family or to the people that you affected with your actions? If you're not acknowledging the pain you caused them, and you're saying, oh, so you have been in prison the whole time, so I've paid for my crime, therefore I should be released, my friend, you will serve your full sentence. But if you show remorse early, you're tempted to come inside.
No. I really love what you've said, and I was wow. This is really in context in what
Yes.
we are discussing. But
Mm.
thanks to that, we must take
Mm.
a break, Nyokabi. As we take
Oh,
a
yes.
break, this is more of a chill kind of discussion. So we're gonna play in a little bit here and there. So don't
Yes.
worry, we have you covered. And don't think because you're talking conflicts tutaanza kuleta sasa Mungu Baba twaomba. No. That's not what we're talking about now. But for now, let's take a chill break. And when we come back, Nyokabi, I want us to go to that idea of remorsefulness. Because most of the time, what people do and not realize, they will say, it was your fault. It wasn't mine. It
Yes.
was your fault that I slapped you. When do we
Yes.
own up? When do we take responsibility, quote unquote? And when do we actually acknowledge that I was wrong and stop, throwing and blaming one another? Because that's what happens in a conflict, or rather in a dispute, that you always want to find somebody that was responsible for what you did, rather than responsible for the actions that you committed as an individual, despite the situation. So let's take a break.
Yes.
We'll be back. We continue sending your comment section. I mean, your comments in the comment section, and let us converse. See you in a moment.
Never forget you, I'll never pretend to. Tumepita kwenye jua, tumepita kwenye mvua. You've always been so true since you came through. Ni heri ungejua, wengine sitojua. Saa zile mikuwazanga sana, pictures na kuanga za maana. Yule anapenanga ni Maulana, na so siwezi ngoja mpaka vile tutaona na 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 mpaka vile tutaona na 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 na. Oh na 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 na. Oh na 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 na. Show me that green light, tell me you're alright. Je, uko na dawa, umepiga shower. Deep in this dark night, I'll be your moonlight. Hata bila power, tutakuwa sawa. Na kama unaniwazanga sana, mina wewe tunafanana. Najua pia wewe unang'ang'ana.
Yes, that's Lydia. Beautiful, beautiful, and rather Lisa Lianga, who is jamming to Ben Stoll's original Forget You, and she's doing that cover. You can always go to YouTube, find her, because she has an amazing music. And as we do that, let me re-invite back Nyokabi so that you can see how do we own up to those that we have offended, and equally, how do we move forward after we've established that kuna kashida hapa. So Nyokabi, are we having conflicts with your nywele by any chance?
No, we are not. Aki shida ya kukua live, hata huwezi jikuna mapua.
Uwezi
Watu
ni
wanakuona.
mbaya.
Na huwezi edit out. Imagine ni mbaya.
Actually, that's one of the reasons that a lot of producers never want to have live shows, and that's why we are
Yes.
different. And I'm proud about
Yes.
that. Yeah.
That's
So
why we are exceptional.
Nyokabi, blame game
Yes.
come into play when there is a dispute or a conflict in a family setting.
Mm.
People
I
never
want to
want to own up.
I want to answer the question you have asked. How do you how do you give an authentic apology? But before we get to that, I had a line of thought that has evaporated and I'm looking for it. We were talking about the stages of how we go into a conflict resolution and how we get to the place where now we are at a place now we are showing remorse. That is where we are. When you are at a point of remorse, now this is how you show remorse. Because Eli, you can't just come and say pole basi ati yaishe ati si nimesema pole, kwani utashinda hapo? Si nilikwambia pole? That's not an apology. You have to show remorse. And this is some of the things to answer the question that Ellie is asking, and I'm sure I got the question right. The first thing to do is to show or to express regret of the actions that you took. So, how do you express regret? You express regret by looking back at that situation and trying to find a better way that you could have reacted. Like now, for example, if you get into a dispute with your boss because you delayed to deliver a project, and the boss demands that you deliver the project at that particular time, and you insist that you aren't able to deliver the project, or for whatever reason you give excuses that result into a dispute, when you're expressing regret, you say that if I had completed the project in good time, we would not be in this particular situation. So that's how you express regret. If you're a spouse and you're a partner, and your partner is accusing you of doing something, you show remorse by expressing regret. You wished if you could take back that situation. Now, when you wish that you could take back that situation, what you're doing in actual sense is that you're taking responsibility for your actions. Had I behaved better, had I conducted myself better, then we probably would not be in this situation. If I was the mature person in this relationship and I choose to take one for the team, would not be in this situation. Then now you get to a place where you're now looking for a way that you can resolve that issue. Sometimes the person who you have conflicted is not looking for an apology. Maybe they just wanted you to do those two steps: express remorse by expressing regret or show regret, or accept responsibility. To them, it means more when you accept responsibility than saying, I am sorry. So now at this point, what you're doing is that you ask this person, what can I do to make the situation better? What can I do to ease the pain that I caused you? What can I do that will help you feel better about this situation? Now you're looking to do something to improve. Then they can maybe say you're sorry, or they can say, promise me you'll not do it again, or they can give you whatever to them they feel the punishment fits the crime. So it's not up to you to dictate the punishment. Hence the reason why I had used the scenario of somebody who is serving a sentence as a guest of the state. When you commit a crime, you don't really think about that crime until you have committed it and until you have been called into account. And therefore, that is why you're not given the choice to choose how the crime will be paid for or compensated for. Somebody else makes that decision for you. A judge, the prosecutor, or somebody else. They are the ones who look at the situation and say, this crime, for this kind of a crime, you deserve to serve 3 months, you deserve to serve 1 year, you deserve to do community service, you should be released with a warning, because they are the ones who you have offended, right? So you cannot come up and say ati nimesema pole without asking the other person, what can I do to help the situation? Now you've given that person the liberty to choose the punishment that fits the crime. But if you have gone through the stages, you can't then again turn around and say, you have sentenced me to 3 months. Seriously? 3 months? That crime does not befit that sentence. You're welcome to go to the Court of Appeal. You're welcome to argue your case. But first, you must accept the sentence that you have been given by saying, yes, I accept. But I will appeal because I feel that the sentence does not fit the crime. I want to be very clear because conflict is a very sensitive thing in our country right now. Eli, I see you
You
have
know,
come back.
you mentioned but, and I was actually coming to that but because I've had scenarios, including my own self, being in a situation where somebody wrongs you and you feel offended by
Yes.
their actions.
Yes.
Then you probably go into a discussion and you agree to disagree and finally settle. And then they
Yes.
have to apologize because that's the natural thing to do to some. Not everybody
Yes.
finds apology natural. So they will say, Nyokabi, you know, you say, I've offended you.
Yes.
I've
You
offended
say
you.
I've
I'm
offended
sorry.
you. Yes.
Exactly. Look
Yes.
at that structure, first of all.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Number two, they go say, okay, if I offended you.
Yes. If you felt that I offended you.
Number three, they say, I'm sorry. Then I'm sorry. But is there an apology in all that?
No. 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 No.
So can
There's
we
no
tell our
genuine.
people how apology actually works? Because yes, you have said you have to acknowledge, but I want us to really structure our wording because at one point or another, as you've said, we talked about blame game, shifting blame who was what. Because now, with all due respect, rather, they are not owning up the mistake by the wording they decide to use with presenting
Yes.
their apology. So,
Yes.
how do we stop these self-justified statements and actually issue an apology?
Well, Ellie, we have gone through those steps of how to issue an apology properly. We are almost, we would call Mabakisha Billy to, we are at genuinely repentance now. You genuinely repent for your mistake.
Yes, I do
And
understand
genuinely,
that.
Aki
But
Ellie,
I'm
na
really
tumeongea
talking
about
about the structure
communication.
because it's important. You said but, and it ring in my head that
Mhm.
most of the time when people offend or get offended, they will say, I'm sorry, but I want to put it forth that that is not an apology.
It is not.
An apology has to be as plain as it is, meaning you're owning up your mistakes and your transgressions. Number two, you realize and recognize that you actually committed an offense towards that person or you offended them in one way or another. Three, you are willing to accept that actually you deserve their mercy.
Well,
As
yes,
difficult as it sounds.
I agree with the three of them. But what I want to say this so
Yes.
that I can help the gentlemen that are watching us here.
Mm-hmm.
When you're genuinely apologizing for something, or when you're going through the stages that we are discussing here in our show today, what you're doing is that you're stamping your participation. You're you're accepting your participation, because sometimes then somebody will say that, well, there's not really much that I did that this person should have reacted, because people also react the way they want to. And that's why I talked about communication. What we
Mm-hmm.
are acknowledging here, Ellie, is your participation, however minute or however huge it was. You're accepting your participation, because apologies should not only happen when there's a serious conflict, even during a dispute. For example, our dispute today, there should be an apology that takes place because we did
Mm-hmm.
not communicate. There should be an apology that says, you know what, Ellie, I apologize. I should have responded. I am sorry. You take that responsibility. And then Ellie says, lakini umenizoea sana. And I say, now, what can I do to ease this kabate? You get, so we negotiate. That's what an apology is. You
Mm-hmm.
negotiate. He doesn't have to accept the apology. What you're doing is that you're accepting your part, the role that you played, because it takes two to tango for the
Yeah.
dispute or for the conflict to happen. Niko ya mwisho, Eli, na ufuate conversation, my friend. Ama utaanza kuapologize hapa sahi. You request for forgiveness. How do you request forgiveness? You don't say pole basi. You say, will you forgive me? There's a difference between conflict resolution, because for a conflict resolution to take place, there has to be forgiveness. So
Okay.
kusema pole basi ama pole, or I apologize, without will you forgive me, then the conflict is not resolved. There has to be forgiveness in conflict resolution. You
Mm-hmm.
have to forgive the other person, and they ask, will you forgive me? And you can give them time. They can say, I need a month, I need 2 days, I need to digest this thing, I need, yani ulikuwa umeniudhi, give me a minute. Allow them to digest, to get to that place where they say, okay, Eli, you did that and I have forgiven you. And even for me, I know I also played my part. Please forgive me. Now that is conflict resolution, where forgiveness has taken place from both parts. But sasa Eli, kuja penye wewe ulikuwa, kuna ile
Mm-hmm.
makosa yenye ni severe. Kuna ule mwenye
Kama
amecommit the heinous crime, kama mwenye
what?
amekuwa unfaithful kwa relationship. Kuna ule mwenye ameshikwa akicheat. Kuna ule mtoto mwenye amepatwa ako na relationship huko nje, ama hajafanya homework, or they have gotten into, or mzazi amefail mtoto wake. And yes, parents should apologize to their children. This is a family edition, Eli. If you fail your child and you do something that hurts your child, please, 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 if you're a parent and you're watching this show, kindly learn how to apologize to your children. It doesn't make you weak. It doesn't give those children power over you. It just makes you a human being, and it teaches your children compassion. Go and sit this child down and tell them, you know what, Wairimo, I offended you and I am sorry. Please accept my apology. I'll give you an example. Recently, during this COVID-19, my daughter had an accident outside here playing, and akagwarwa na number plate ya gari kwa mguu, and I took her to the hospital. You know how bad when you go to the hospital.
You have
So when
expensive
you go,
accidents. Watu walikuwa
yes,
watu walikuwa wanagarwa na
when we went
miba.
to the hospital, the first thing that they did, it was a deep cut, so ilikuwa ina require kushonwa. So there was shindano ya tetanus, there was, and me, I know these things are painful. And me being me, I was squeamish and screamish, and I was so scared. So now when it was happening, so when I get scared about something, I normally laugh. So I just laugh it off. Instead of crying, I laugh. By there, I laugh my way through life. Ukisikia nikicheka kuna kitu hapo, either there's something there that's just not in line. I just laugh things out. So there, when we were in the hospital and the doctor was alikuwa anadunga shindano to numb that particular place that was cut, they inject the shindano, the needle goes right into the wound. So for me, I was just like, oh my God. So I just laughed it out. But she was so brave. She was sitting there and she was so calm. Then she told me that even if you laugh at me, I don't care. Me, I'm strong. I'm not going to cry. What she had was the laughter, right? And to her, she thought, why are you laughing at me? You know, because I'm being injected, you're laughing at me. And it was a bad moment for her. So in my mind, I didn't register at that time. So akashonwa akamaliza, and I was like, oh my God, you're so brave. I am so not you. I don't know you're brave like who, but me, I'm not brave like that. So when we got home, this thing really bothered me. So I told Kamau, Aki, I laughed at this scenario and I feel I need to correct what happened. So he tells me, go ahead and go for ice cream and discuss that conversation. So I remember I sat her down, I told her, you know what, Mom, this happened. And what was happening to me at that time was this and this. And I apologize that you would think that I would laugh at you. Then I realized I said, I've told her that she would think. She did not think. She saw me laughing. She did not imagine it. So I told her, I am so sorry that I have a very unhealthy way of dealing with uncomfortable situations. My intention was not to laugh at you. And I apologize for that. And I chose not to explain why I was laughing. So later on, I called her and I told her, you know what, Mom? I was laughing because that is how I deal with uncomfortable situations. And she told me, but Mom, we already resolved that. There's no issue. But you see, this child would have grown up with that thing of sasa huyu.
My mom
Ananichekelea kwa
celebrates
nini?
my misery.
Yes. So as a parent, and the reason I'm giving that example is that as a parent, when you go late to pick your child, and your child is the only one who is in class, and they have been waiting for you the whole day, and you don't show up, when you get there, the first thing that you do is you say, I'm sorry that I am late. Don't explain there was traffic. Don't explain you are looking for money to pay their school fees. Is none of their business because somebody paid your school fees. You're paying forward. So apologize and say, I am sorry, I am late. Please forgive me. Can we go home? And you can even be nicer and say, how can I make it up to you? Give them an opportunity to be angry because you're teaching them emotional intelligence as you also grow. I'll give another example with parents who wonder, why should I apologize to my child? Why should I? Mimi ni mama yake nina apologize. My friend, you're trying to build a healthy relationship with this child. Parents fail children all the time. You fail them when you go to pick them at school. I have uncles who promise and say, I'm going to come and pick you and take you somewhere. And they don't show up. And they don't bother to call this child and tell this child, I know I had promised you I'd come for you, but I did not show up. If you don't show up to go and pick your niece and your nephews, apologize. Tell that child, hey, I know I had promised you I was going to come for you. I apologize. I did not make it to come for you. Something distracted me. Not that it's more important than you, but something distracted me. And I promise you next time I'll do better. So you're also building trust with this person. When you learn how to apologize at such levels, even when you offend your boss, you will take responsibility. Even when you offend the matatu driver, amekuongelesha wewe uko na mastress zako umemwachia hapo. Ati wewe usiniletee wewe endesha matatu ndio imekuleta Nairobi. My friend. Kwa sababu amekwambia ukae vizuri ama usongee mtu mwingine akae. Madam. Ukishuka hiyo matatu, remember to say I am sorry. Sikuwa namaanisha kukosa heshima. It is important that you learn how to say you're sorry. Take responsibility for the part that, because it takes to always look at it like this. It's like credit and SIM card. One cannot work without the other. In order for a conflict to happen, somebody must have made a mistake somewhere. The other thing, Eli, you see with accidents, hizi gari zinagongananga, unapata mtu amegongana somewhere. Somebody made a mistake. People don't just collide, because otherwise then we would not have the highways moving the way they move. So if a collision has happened, somebody has made a mistake. And in most cases, it's both of you. Mmoja wenyu wako anaangalia barabara, mmoja wenyu alikataa kukanyanga brakes, mwingine akadecide kuaccelerate, both of you, kila mtu kuna kakitu ifanya kadogo tu, yote ya kusema ati don't accept liability. When it comes to conflict, always look at it like an accident. Somebody has made a mistake. Both of you have participated.
I'm happy, Nyokabi, you actually bring in the situation that we have on roads. And let me even paint further picture or image on that.
Yes.
You see, unfortunately, on our roads, people will have what we call road rage or want to compete to see who is better than whom. And especially in our roads that are designed, you only have two lanes. One is left, the other one is, one is driving up, the other one driving down. And then you have a situation whereby the other one decides to put on their headlights at full beam. And then because you also have a car, you want to show them, I equally have full beam. So both of you decide, let's all go full blast. What happens as a result? There's a possibility you can have that fracture of blindness, as they call it in driving, and then cause an accident.
Yes.
Now, let's put it now into the family situation. I made a mistake. Instead of you recognize I have made a mistake, which needs to be addressed, you decide you will double the mistake so that we are equal. And we forget that English saying that two wrongs never make a right.
Yes.
Just because I made a mistake, you decide, okay, fine, you know what? You stepped out, I'm going to do the same. You know what? You spend 100,000 Kenyan shillings from the account, I'm going to blow 100,000 Kenyan shillings with my girls. Let's see nani ataumia. What happens after 4 more days? You guys are auctioned.
Yeah.
So what are we trying to say? At the end of the day, as you have established that this is a conflict or a dispute that is arising, do not be the person that will actually steer it by trying to be equal or measure up to the same mistake that this person has done or committed.
I have a word that I want to add to help to give you an English word that will help you.
Yes,
don't fuel the situation.
Do not fuel the situation. But unfortunately, as they fuel the situation, they make it worse, but they want to look like mimi na wewe lazima tupelekane, ukitoka nimetoka, ukinini nimenini. Isn't that giving children too much leeway when you say you'll make up being late to them? I only ask because you are in turn rewarding them for their misgivings. Well,
no. This person has confused something, because what we are saying here,
Rahim.
I can't see the word. Read
Rahim.
the word for me.
That is Rahim. Yeah.
We were giving an example of where you were going to pick a child from school, or you had promised your niece or your nephew would pick them from their house and bring them to the house, or take them to the grandparents, or take them to rivers, whatever the plan you have.
Yeah.
You are the one who is on the wrong, because it's not fair for your child to be waiting for you, abaki yeye peke yake kwa class, amekungojea wewe mzazi wake ukuje umchukue. It is not fair not to keep time. So we need to realize as parents that we are not only just bringing up these children, we are teaching them issues of life. We are teaching them punctuality. Now, this child, when you tell this child, I am sorry that I was late to come and pick you, when this child has an appointment themselves, they will remember that it is rude to be late. Because just because you're dealing with a child, it doesn't mean that now the social cues are off. They must remain steady, because these social cues we are teaching these children. If you come to meet me and you're late, and you will apologize, then if you go to pick your child and you're late, then you should apologize, because the same social cues work the same. It's not about giving this child leeway. It's about teaching this child etiquette. That's number one. Number two is about showing emotional intelligence. Number three, I've seen children who ask their parents, why are you telling me to apologize and you don't apologize? So what you're just teaching, you're also teaching through action. So there's a lot that goes into saying that I'm sorry, and it's important that you're genuinely apologizing, so that when even the two children conflict, when your daughter and your son conflict, or the sibling rivalry occurs, you can tell them to apologize. And because you have shown them how it's done, they will follow such steps. I've seen a child tell me, I am not ready to apologize yet because I am still angry. When I get to the place that I'm ready to apologize, I will apologize. And that child has the right to do that. And it's not giving them leeway, it's teaching them emotional intelligence. So as a parent, you check on them and you say, hey, well, you said when I will you be ready to apologize? I'm getting there, mama, you know? And you call them and you say, you know what, you need to get there quickly because it is also affecting your brother or your sister. And why are you so angry anyway that you need 2 weeks to get to a place where you're ready to apologize? So it also gives you an opportunity to talk and have authentic and real conversation with your children. But if you look at it as giving them leeway, then you'll not be able to achieve. Ellie, can I give you there's something I had sent you? Oh, we are out of time. I don't want to open that Pandora's box. So
Yes,
apologize
Nyokabi,
to
because
children.
actually next week we will
Yes,
continue with part 2 of the discussion because we still have mediators. Where do they come in? We have actually
yes,
people who cannot fix it because it's really a serious conflict and decide it's all the way to court. We've had it, we've seen it in our society where people, when one dies, who was the father, the rest of the family goes gun blazing and they are going to for everyone's throat because there's money and there is property to
involved,
be
yes,
divided and they cannot resolve it. We've had
yes,
cases, Nyokabi, of when one actually dies, then there is, for people who come from my area, we have more than one. It takes two to tango, not three. Actually, it takes three to tango. So you find and realize everybody is fighting who is going to give the last respect to this one that has left. And
yeah,
then it is a whole court issue. And then the body will stay whatever in state for so many years because issues have not been resolved. Those are some of the issues we will be discussing next week. So do tune in as we proceed with this so that we can help ourselves as family before it gets that far. Nyokabi,
yes.
your final thoughts as we conclude this part.
I want to say my final thoughts on this part would be it is important to understand the process of conflict resolution before you actually get into it. It doesn't start with I am sorry. It starts with accepting, it starts with validation, it starts with realizing that there's a mistake that was done somewhere. So when you understand the concept of what conflict resolution is, then you're at a better position to, to resolve your dispute. Silence is not a way of resolving dispute. Maintaining very serious social distance for years is not a way of maintaining disputes. Coming down and saying, hey, let's resolve this conflict does not make you less of a person and it does not take away from you. And when I say this, I'm speaking to the husbands because husbands just cannot apologize to their wives. I
Allah,
had, I
am
had a
I am I
conversation.
am I a weekly because I've been practicing how to say sorry for a long time?
No, you should say you're sorry. The sooner you say you're sorry, the sooner the conflict, the dispute, the sooner the dispute does not grow into a conflict. So do not allow the disagreement between you and your child, you and your spouse, you and your parent, you and your siblings or relatives. Do not allow the dispute to become a conflict. Always ensure that umeresolve, do your part. And I know
Let's
chenye tutapata
resolve
hapo kwa
this.
comments Eli, what about huyo mtu mwenye umemwambia pole hataki kusikia? When you
No,
go through the
you know
yes,
what? All this actually has been mentioned already in the comment section, and we will
yes,
keep these comments because they will be really of importance to next week part 2 of this
yes,
discussion. People
yes,
like Nancy Magen who say there are many things you can try out by yourself, but if these things don't work, it is wise to get support from someone who can help you work through the issues. At the same
yes,
time, Wycliffe Gaddafi says, at that challenge becomes when one party starts developing some cheap ego not to accept their mistake. This is interesting. Sorry, I have to bring this up again. Sometimes the parties do not want to sort it out, but they have exhausted everything. Oh, sorry, sometimes the parties do want to sort it out, but they have exhausted everything they know. How do you how do
they
they
have
know how
exhausted,
to do? And
they have
in the cases,
Eli, they have
yes.
exhausted everything they know how to do. That's what she's saying.
Okay.
You have done
Okay.
everything that you know how to do to resolve the cases, to
Yeah.
resolve the conflict. Continue.
And therefore, in those cases, getting support from qualified mediators can actually unlock the problem. And these are some of the issues we will be discussing in the next episode of this program. And we have Mark Ferdinand, who says, watching all the way from Athi River. Sarah and Jonjo, thank you so much. He says, pride is one thing that makes you feel superior than the others. Thus, saying those simple words, I'm sorry, becomes very hard. We will address, actually, we will address that. We say from Frida Nguku, who says, late but here and great discussion. We have Eric Baron, who disagrees with you and saying, Nyokabi, I do not really know how to put it, but apologizing to our children, that's strange. We'll need to practice it.
Yeah.
And finally,
Thank you, Eric.
one of the messages that had come from Rahim that actually put in there, and you have addressed it, but the questions that you have raised are pertinent, and we will discuss them in the next episode. So,
Absolutely.
Nyokabi, you want to add
Yes.
Martin? You have 1 minute you have 1 minute of fame starting now.
Let me just encourage Eric here as I encourage all other people who are struggling with apologizing. I always look at it like this. If you would like an apology, then give one. Always give what you would like to receive. Don't be selfish and say, I don't want to give an apology, but you would like an apology. If somebody offended you, an apology would go a long way with you. It is important that you do the same for the other person. So sometimes even apologizing gives you peace. Instead of ukaange na hiyo kitu kwa roho unasema ati, oh, this happened, or we left it at a bad note with this particular person. Just apologize. And it will give you a lot of relief. Then you who is being apologized to, let me let you know that forgiveness benefits the forgiver and not the one who is asking for forgiveness. It will benefit you because it will ease the pain, it will relieve the stress, it will help you reconcile the relationship, and you can forgive and not rebuild that relationship. You can forgive and walk away. Forgiveness doesn't mean that now we become best buddies tushindange tukihang out pamoja. It will just relieve you. Forgive them and you can relieve and savor that relationship. You don't have to save the relationship. So most people say, siwezi msamehea, atarudi kwa life yangu. No. Forgive them and release them. And it will benefit you more than it will benefit the person who is asking for forgiveness. Yes. Oh, let me on one more before my moment of fame it ends.
Yeah.
You know you have forgiven if you see the person who caused you the pain and you don't feel that hiyo kidonda inarirumuka, you don't feel that wound open up in you. You see that person and you're okay with it. If you see your ex and you say hi, uko tu na hiyo story inaisha, you are forgiven. But ukimwona unaanza kutoa tu veins huko and you start hiding under the table and saying mimi nilimsamehea, hujasamehe.
Looks like you're having constipation when you see them. You look like you're having constipation.
You have not forgiven. So when you forgive, you come at peace. You find peace with that situation. And that is what forgiveness is all about. So I wish you a forgiveful week as you prepare for Wednesday show.
Well,
It is your
Nyokabi,
moment
thank you
to
so
shine.
much. We are really out of time. I do realize that you guys want to cover so much as we proceed. So it will be interesting if you can be sending us your questions in time, and equally make sure that we can make you part of the conversation by sending in your questions and inquiries. So do that, and let's help one another build a better family. Remember, today, for those who just woke up, whichever country you're watching from, is World Environment Day. So you want to ask you, make your environment even better. And Fifi Paz, thank you so much for planting a tree for Art in Heart and responding to live. You are just one of our best, and we love you for that. Tomorrow night, Noreen will be hosting one Pastor KT, who is equally an author. So do join Noreen on Against All Odds with KT from 9:30 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. East African time. And you gotta listen to this amazing story on Against All Odds. As always, It's a pleasure bringing you these programs every single Saturday with Nyokabi, GK Kamau. Follow her on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, and all those places. The name is Nyokabi, GK Kamau, +25478081097. You love what we do. You know what to do. Head to Facebook, subscribe, like, share this channel and cast, and the handle is The Arts in Heart. You can equally find us on YouTube. The handle is The Arts in Heart Official, and on Instagram, The Arts in Heart, or you can use The Arts _ in Heart. That's simple. Okay, so see you then, and have a great weekend ahead. Till next time, love you and take care. See you.